A crow landed 2 feet from a woman sitting on her porch. It didn't flinch, didn't look at the food beside her. It looked directly at her face and stayed completely still for 11 seconds. She counted. Then it made one short, quiet sound she'd never heard a crow make before, and flew away. 3 days later, the same crow came back, with something in its beak, and left it at her feet. She hadn't fed it once. So why her? Why now? And what did that sound mean? That moment has a specific name in crow research. And once you understand what was actually happening, you'll realize this wasn't random. It never is. Most people walk past crows every day and register nothing. That's the default. A crow lands nearby, and you think noise, nuisance, coincidence. But there's a layer of crow behavior that researchers spent years trying to quantify, and what they found quietly rewrote what we thought we knew about animal awareness. Because crows don't treat humans the way other birds do. They don't simply tolerate you or avoid you. They study you. They categorize you. And they remember you in a way that should genuinely make you pause. The part that most people never hear is what they do with that memory once they've decided something about you. Start with the stillness. Because that's where everything begins. When a crow lands near a human and doesn't move, doesn't scan for food, doesn't do the nervous head bobbing that birds typically do in proximity to something large and unpredictable, that stillness is not calm. It's concentration. Crows in active assessment mode suppress their natural anxiety responses. They override the instinct to flee because something more important is happening. And what's more important than survival instinct in that moment is information gathering. The crow is running you through a process. Posture, movement pattern, eye contact, behavioral consistency. It is, in a very direct sense, reading you. But here's what most people miss entirely. The crow isn't doing this for the first time. Crows recognize individual human faces with a precision that disturbed researchers when they first confirmed it. A study out of the University of Washington found that crows could identify a specific human face after a single interaction and hold that recognition for years without any repeat contact. They don't generalize. They don't approximate. They know your face the same way you know someone you've met. And here's where it gets serious. They share that information. A crow that has formed an opinion about you has communicated that opinion to the crows it moves with. Which means the crow standing still 2 feet away from you may already have a complete profile on you built from observations you were never aware of. The stare is not introduction. The stare is confirmation. So the stillness is step 1. What happens in the next 30 seconds tells you everything. Watch the neck. This is the detail that changes the entire reading of the situation, and almost no one catches it in the moment. A crow whose neck feathers are relaxed and slightly loose is in a neutral or positive state. A crow whose neck feathers are subtly raised and compressed, just a slight tightening at the base of the skull, is in a threat processing state. That difference is invisible to most people. It looks like nothing. But to the crow, it is a full physiological shift. And if you have ever made a gesture near a crow that you considered small or inconsequential, a quick movement, a loud exhale, stepping close to a tree they were nesting in, there is a real chance that a crow in your space right now has that moment stored. And the neck is how you know whether what you're looking at is a crow that chose you positively or a crow that has been waiting to close a file on you. Because crows hold grudges. And this is not a figure of speech. In the same Washington studies, crows that had been captured and banded while researchers wore a specific mask would, months later, dive, scold, and mob any person wearing that mask within their territory, while completely ignoring people in different masks standing feet away. What made it genuinely unsettling was what came next. Juvenile crows, birds that had never been near the original capture, began performing the same targeted aggression toward the same face. The grudge had been taught. It had been passed down. Which means if a crow community in your area has tagged you as a threat at any point, that information is now part of their social inheritance. Your children could inherit that relationship. And you would have no way of knowing unless you knew exactly what behavior to look for when a crow comes close. Here's the other side of that. And this is where people usually stop expecting what comes next. The gifting behavior. This is the one that reframes everything. Crows have been documented bringing small objects to specific humans repeatedly over extended periods. Buttons, stones, pieces of wire, fragments of glass. Not to every human nearby. Not to the person who fed them most. To specific individuals who had demonstrated a behavior the crow assessed as significant. In some cases, researchers couldn't identify what the person had done to trigger it, which means the crow had been watching from a distance, tracking behavior over time, before making any contact at all. The gift is not the beginning of the relationship. The gift is the crow announcing that it has already been in one with you. It's telling you something you didn't know, that it's been paying attention for a long time, and it's decided you're worth acknowledging. And the specific moment the gift is placed matters as much as the gift itself. If a crow drops something near your feet and immediately leaves, that is a different signal than a crow that places something and then waits. The crow that waits is not done. It is watching your reaction. It is collecting new data in real time. Your response, whether you look at the object, whether you pick it up, whether you acknowledge the crow or dismiss it, is being filed. You are in an active exchange whether you realize it or not. And your behavior in that moment will determine what the crow does next. That is not a small thing. That is a social negotiation happening across species with rules most humans don't know exist. Now here's the layer that most people never reach. And it's the one that makes all of this feel different once you sit with it. Crows understand social reputation. Not instinctively in the way we typically describe animal behavior. Structurally, they have been observed intervening in conflicts between other crows they are not related to. They have been observed appearing to console distressed individuals in their group. They respond differently to humans who have treated other crows well, even when those humans haven't interacted with them directly. Researchers describe this as third-party reputation assessment. The crow knows how you treat others, not just how you treat it. And if you've ever had a crow behave warmly toward you without any obvious reason, without any history of feeding or interaction, there is a quiet possibility that you were vouched for. That a crow you may never have noticed watched you do something decent, somewhere, at some point, and passed that forward. The call is the part that seals all of this together. When a crow lands near you and makes a short, low, clipped vocalization while oriented toward you, it is not calling at you. Crow vocalizations are functionally specific. They have distinct calls for predator identification, for rallying, for alarm, and for what researchers describe as social referencing, which is the transfer of specific information about a specific subject to other crows in range. That short, quiet call after the stare means you are being described, named, in real time, to the crows listening nearby. If you've ever noticed that within a few minutes of one crow landing near you, 2 or 3 more appeared without any obvious reason, you have watched this process complete itself. You became a subject of communication. And that network now holds updated information about you that will influence every crow interaction in that space going forward. Here is what all of this converges into. And it's the answer to the question the hook left open. The woman on the porch didn't receive that gift because she fed the crow. She received it because the crow had decided, based on observation she had no awareness of, that she was consistent, safe, predictable in a way that the crow interpreted as trustworthy. The short, quiet call before it left on that first day wasn't strange crow noise. It was the crow filing her, updating her record in the local network. And when it came back 3 days later with something in its beak, it was not performing a random behavior. It was extending a relationship she didn't know she was already in. That's the thing about crows that once understood cannot be unfelt. They don't begin observing you when they land near you. They were already watching. You have a record in a system you never signed into. You have a reputation in a community you never joined. Every crow in your daily environment has a position on you built from evidence you didn't know was being collected. The crow that lands near you and goes still is not meeting you. It is checking in on someone it already knows. And what it does next, in those first few seconds, in the neck and the eyes and the call and the waiting, is the only honest answer to a question most people never think to ask, which is, what do the crows near me actually think of me? Because they know. They have always known. You're only just starting to find out.